start the recording. There's a few folks who really wanted to be here with us today, a few of our community partners who really wanted to be here with us, but asked if we could maybe share a recording with them. So we are recording this so that we can share this out with anyone who's unable to make it today, but we're so happy that everybody is on who's here with us. Looks like we've got about 34 and there are still folks coming in. So thank you all for spending a little bit of time with us today as we kind of recap some things about where we're at and get us ready for a really successful and really great fall semester ahead of us. Just a couple of housekeeping things as we dive in. We will ask you to keep yourselves muted for the most part. There'll be a couple of times where we encourage you to unmute and to contribute verbally, but just for the sake of any conference call or Zoom video call that you've done before, just please keep yourself muted for that time. But if you have any questions at all, we actually have Shalyn Sims from our office here. She's waving there in her video screen. She'll be watching the chat box for us and bringing to my attention anything that needs, any questions that you have or concerns while we're going through. And then Jessie Drummond is also on the call, and she'll be helping with some of that, as well as sharing some information with you here in a little bit. Some other quick housekeeping things in case you have somehow made it this far in the pandemic without being on a Zoom call. Just a couple of things, the features, the buttons, if you're on a regular laptop or a computer, the buttons across the bottom, one should be it should say chat. That allows you to type in comments. If you click on participants, you'll see your name as well as everyone else's name, and you're able to message either everyone or specific individuals. And then you can also, from there, raise your hand or, I think it's raise your hand in order to tell us that you have a question. And then one of the buttons at the bottom of your screen is also reactions to show applause and thumbs up. So those are things that we'll potentially ask that you do throughout the time. And I see a couple of people freezing. I was making sure I wasn't the one freezing this time though. Great. Well, welcome. I sent out an agenda. We're going to be working through that agenda together. Again, lots of great information that we're going to be sharing out, but that agenda is really what we're going to follow. I would encourage you to hold on to that agenda long after this meeting, because we took advantage of this remote opportunity and hyperlinked as many things in that agenda as possible. So everything that agenda will serve as a resource for you for a long time to come. Shalyn, Jessie, did I miss anything as far as overview? Okay.
I will say it might make it easier if a few of you could just rename yourself so it kind of fully comes up at the bottom. I don't think everyone has their full name, so just because not everyone has their cameras on, and that's fine. But if you did want to rename yourself, you would just have to go to participants, hover over your name, and then it says a mute button or a more button. And if you hit more, you can actually hit rename and maybe put your name in the organization that you're with, so we know who you are. So we have some that have like their name and then listed their organization. So thank you so much. Thanks for being on today.
Yeah, it's great to see everybody. I miss you guys. I feel like we had some great moments, some great workshops in the fall and spring, and then we haven't really seen anybody. So, well, to get us started, you're probably on this call because you have received a lot of emails from our office over at least the year, if not years. And so you probably know us really well, but just as a recap, the Office of Service Learning and Civic Engagement is part of a larger department here at FGCU. And so in these next couple of minutes, we're actually going to introduce to you that department a little bit. And to get us started, I'm going to toss things over to Jessica Ray, who is the director of that department, to kind of talk about why this department exists. Take it away, Jessica. Shalyn.
I got it. I just thought you had to unmute me. Thank you.
No,
I didn't know if you were controlling the mute or not. So welcome, everyone. It is fantastic to have you all joining virtually. because this is how we've just got to make things happen, you know, for now and for a little while. And thank you for doing so. I have a role at FGCU that has brought together 3 amazing offices that used to kind of work together, but now we're strategically placed together. And when I explain why, you'll be thinking just what I was thinking is, why weren't we connected in the first place? So you can't read my whole title because it's kind of long, but I'll tell you what it is. My position is I am the Senior Director of Experiential Learning and Career Development. And the 3 offices that are encompassed in this department are the Experiential Learning offices, which are service learning and internships. And then the Career Development office is there as well. And they're just so interconnected. The students can explore career paths through their service learning and through their internships. They can gain knowledge as well as career readiness skills and valuable marketable skills so that they're ready for that career. Oftentimes we have students that experience a pipeline. They have a service learning experience. They realize this is where their passion is. They delve deeper in their service. It creates opportunities for internships. The internships help them gain more knowledge and skills and make professional contacts, and then they're hired. And if you have never asked Jessie Drummond, who's on this call, about this experience, she can explain it to you firsthand because that was her own experience here at FGCU. So I am the Senior Director over all 3 of these offices, and you already have been in contact with Justin, the Director of Service Learning, and his team, but I think Justin's going to also have the other directors share a little bit about what they do at FGCU and how you can connect with them to have our students connect with you. Thanks, Justin. Welcome, everyone.
Yeah, and for anyone who just came into the workshop, we've just put the agenda back in the chat box so that you have it as well. But that agenda does have each of our offices linked in this first section on the agenda. And you can, as we're talking through the offices here that fall under Jessica's department, our 3 offices, you can click on those and be taken right to our individual websites. So we already talked a little bit about service learning. I'll come back to that throughout really the rest of this workshop. And really the focus of this workshop is service learning and civic engagement. But as Jessica mentioned, there are 2 other offices under this department, and we want you to meet those wonderful directors of those offices as well. So next up is internships and cooperative programs. And so Ashley Droz is on here. Ashley, take it away.
Thanks, Justin. Hi, everybody. I see some familiar faces, so that's pretty exciting. I want to thank Justin really quickly for the opportunity to talk to you because, as Jessica said, our offices are so interrelated. You know, our office, internships and cooperative programs, just a really quick 1-sentence overview, I guess, is that we serve as kind of the main resource on campus for 3 different groups: students, faculty and staff, and of course our employers, our community partners, and that kind of stuff, to get everyone connected to the internship resources that they need. And so one of the reasons I'm excited to be here today is, as Jessica mentioned, many students find their passions, gain skills, all kinds of stuff through working with your organizations. And so if ever you have an opportunity or need kind of some substantial student help in the form of an internship, we are definitely here to connect you to our students, as well as help our students get ready to be, you know, a quality intern for you. And so the Office of Internships and Cooperative Programs, we house Eagle Career Link, which is our university-wide job board. So we're happy to get you posted on that resource. We also have tons of information and resources for you if you do not yet have an internship and would like to develop one. I'm very happy to work with you on that and talk about some of the critical components and those types of things. So just wanted you to see my face so that if you have some interest in offering an internship or something along those lines, that we are here for you. So either myself or Francine St. Thomas can get you all set up. So thanks, Justin.
Thank you. And next up, we're going to go to Career Development Services, and Rose Fuller is on here. She serves as the director of that office. Rose, go ahead and take it away. Oh, Rose, are you muted? No. Zoom snags. We'll give Rose a minute and see if she can sign back in with us with sound. So holistically, while Rose is working here, and Jessica, if you want to jump in and share anything on Rose's behalf, that's okay too.
Yes. So this is what I want to make sure you know, and something that we are constantly making sure that our students know as well, is that Career Development Services is not just an office that provides services for our upper level or senior students as they're ready to depart us. We want them in right away with our career advisors who can help them discover what their majors are going to be based on their passion, and then help them figure out how their major can lead them to a multitude of careers, and get a baseline for what a resume is going to look like, figure out where your holes are, and then take advantage of the offices of service learning and the offices of internships and start getting those experiences so that you have a resume that is a standout resume with experiences that are going to set you apart from others that are applying for the same grad schools as you, the same professional positions as you. So Career Development Services has advisors that meet with students, but they also go out into the classrooms. They have large-scale events such as career and internship fairs, as well as smaller opportunities to meet with employers or community partners. So they connect right with us as well, and that's why we're now together as a family, our Department of Experiential Learning and Career Development. Rose, give me a thumbs up if you heard it. Okay, perfect. Do you want to put anything in the chat if there's anything I forgot? Okay. I think we're good. All right.
I think for everyone on the call, it's just really important to see all three, because you'll interact with our offices and sometimes think that we're all one, but we are three separate areas, even though we're working very closely. So you may email any one of us and say, oh, I need an intern and I need to post a service learning opportunity. And so we're really working in two different channels, or two connected but separate channels, to make that happen. But it's really great for you to see the directors of those two other areas, so that if you do contact me and we're talking through service learning and I say, this would really make a great internship, I'm going to connect you over to Ashley and her team so that she can really get you connected well for internships. Or you may be talking with us and you say, we really need a 20-hour employee. We want to hire somebody, and or full-time. We need a new coordinator for our office. Whatever that looks like, we're going to connect you to one of these three teams. But together, we are all making it happen. Great.
Rose did put one last comment. She just said there's a part-time job fair on August 26th. If that's an interest, it's R Fuller, Fuller at fgcu.edu.
And paid internships are welcome there too.
Perfect. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Rose. Thank you, Justin, for allowing us to be here. I'm going to be here hearing, but I'm going to put my fake face on. Have a wonderful meeting.
Thanks, Jessica. Thanks, Ashley. Thanks, Rose. You're welcome to stay as long as you would like as well. And then in the agenda are their office's email, the general email, and then that'll get funneled to the correct person in their office. So just like I said at the beginning, hold on to that agenda that we have sent out and put in the chat box, because that is really a great resource for you for a long time to come. And we're going to try to stay as close to schedule as possible, because we have some folks popping in and out to help us with different aspects of the meeting. And we are luckily already running ahead of schedule, which is great. So we're going to jump to the FGCU updates. So in here, we really just want to bring all of you as our co-educators, as our partners in this process. We want to bring you up to speed with what's happening on campus, what it looks like on campus. I know many people have had questions every time I've had kind of one-on-one interactions. People are saying, is anyone on campus? Is anyone going to be on campus? Is, you know, what's it going to look like? And to some degree, you know, like everything else, we're taking it a day at a time. But there is also a plan that has been put out. I put it in one of the emails that went out to all of our community partners not too long ago. And so, you know, definitely look at that. But if you click on that first link for academic plan, and Jesse or Shalyn, I don't know if you're able to share your screen and click through some of the links here as we go. But if you share your, oh, there we go. So clicking on that first link actually brings you to this page, which is the COVID-19 update page. And on here, you'll see every update that has come out to the university, and it's all public knowledge. Nothing is ever hidden. We're a public university, so absolutely everything is public knowledge as well. So if you ever have questions, this is a great resource. Of course, you can always ask us directly, but we can tell you just kind of a quick overview of the fall as we know it. Things will be limited, obviously, to small groups of people. There still will be in-person opportunities, in-person activities happening. I will say many offices and departments are really being allowed to craft the activities and the experiences to how they see fit for the purposes of the activity, and then obviously within the safety guidelines of CDC and FGCU's reopening plan. That all said, what we're kind of expecting is there will be some in-person classes happening. I think last I heard, and Jessica may know more recent numbers, but last I heard it was about 50% of classes were going to be kind of in person and 50% online, or a mixture of online. So we say online, but having some sort of virtual option. And so classes will bring students to campus. Next week, students move back into the residence halls. And of course, they're taking all the precautions necessary to bring students back in safely, but there will be students living back in the residence halls. And the last numbers we saw, that the capacity for those were filling up well as well. And so, yes, we'll still have what we're expecting, a vibrant campus life on campus, and then lots of virtual options. There is also, if you Google FGCU virtual, there's an entire page of everything that is happening virtually. So lots of great things still happening on campus. It's certainly not going to be a shut down, empty campus, a ghost town campus. I know some people have really thought that was going to be the case, and absolutely everything will be online. Even the larger events, and hopefully everyone on this call has seen the emails that our office has been sending out about the Service Learning Fair, but a lot of our events for the fall that are virtual will still have some in-person components here and there to really tie things together. We will obviously have a smaller number of students on campus on a daily basis, but we are looking to engage even those folks in different ways. So any questions that you have, go ahead and put them in the chat box for specifically about reopening or what that might look like. And like I said, Shalyn will bring that to our attention as we go throughout here. The COVID-19 effect on service learning. So this has been something that not only have we been working through as an office, but we've also been working statewide and nationwide with our different associations for service learning within higher education to really do the best that we possibly can to keep students engaged with each of you. And we know that your needs are all changing daily and are all, you know, in many ways, you're trying to figure that out as well, what you need, what you can use volunteers for, how you can engage with our students through classes and through research and what that all looks like. And we just want to say thank you because we have such an amazing number of virtual service opportunities listed on our website right now. Our students are engaging in them. They are doing some great and meaningful work through their classes, through their individual pursuits with each of you. If you have not, please definitely use our form where you can submit your service learning opportunities, and Jesse or Shalyn will pop that into the chat box there. But definitely use our form and submit all of your opportunities, whether they're in person or virtual, for the fall, so that we can get those loaded up. Because what happens is students start their experiences this fall, and a lot of times they have requirements for their specific classes that they're taking around service learning, or sometimes they are really encouraged just to kind of knock out that graduation requirement around service learning. But you'll get a lot of attention at the beginning of the semester. So if you wait until later in the semester to post your things, it's still very helpful, but you might have missed some eyeballs that otherwise would have seen it if it was there in the beginning. Thanks, Jesse. Jesse just put it in the chat box there. So that's our tiny URL link, our hyperlink to be able to post any service learning needs that you have. And you can bookmark that link. I always encourage people, bookmark that link in your browser. So every time you are doing anything and you think, man, I could really use some help with this, put it in there. And once it comes in there, we do post it into a page for all of FGCU to see. And sorry, I'm also reading the chats here. And once it comes in, then we post it there, but then we also target market it out to different departments on campus, different student organizations, to really get you as much attention to the volunteer needs that you're submitting as possible. So
I will say this is for events that you have, but we've also had people just submit it because they would like to have a student come out and help, and they're not sure about the time span, but they're looking to, and they're like, we might only just need one student, but we might need two. Even if you have an idea, or if you're looking for any specific or non-specific opportunity, please kind of go through this form, think about those questions, submit it to us, and then we can reach out and talk to you if we need more. But we've even had people be like, well, we're not even sure how long we might need them. That's fine, but we won't know what you need unless you let us know. So please, please, please use that form. If you have questions, let me know. But thank you.
Jesse, do you also want to talk about the WOW Day of Service that we have coming up? Make a plug for any.
Yeah, no, I will. So I don't know if we did just like, I think the RSVP ended Friday, but we are still looking for 2 more community partners for it's the Week of Welcome Day of Service. And so this is going to be happening coming pretty soon, I think August 29th.
Yes.
Thank you. And it's a 9 to 1 time period. And ideally what we're doing is trying to source students to go out and all serve on that day, really get connected with students. We're really hoping that this is like, first, second year students, so you can get to know some of the ones that are just entering the school. They can get to know you, kind of have that great community feel. And the way that we're doing this year is we're not going to have a big kickoff. Unfortunately, we can't do buses because of just CDC guidelines. So we're asking more community partners to take in smaller amount of students, and students will have to get their own transportation there. We do have some carpooling opportunities. We also have some on-campus opportunities, but we're making sure that students are coming equipped with face masks, gloves, their own eye protection, their own wipes. So they'll have kind of like a safety packet, all of the information for your site kind of leading to that event. And then they can come out and work with you all that day from 9 to 1. So if you are still interested, you can put it in the chat, you can let me know, you can email me. But we are still looking for 2 more sites if anyone is interested.
And use your little reaction button down at the bottom and give me a thumbs up or a hand clap if you've ever participated, so if you've ever received our students for a day of service.
Yeah. Thanks, Madeline.
Excellent. Okay. So for anyone who has done it, awesome. We hope that you are talking with Jesse about doing it again, either for the WOW Day of Service that you just mentioned here on August 29th, or for Make a Difference Day that will come up later. And for anyone who didn't put up a reaction, this is your chance to dive in. Again, you can have a small group of volunteers in person, and if you have virtual opportunities, we are certainly willing to figure out how we fit that into the day of events so that we have people serving virtually at the same time that other small groups are out at your sites. We've had some nonprofits partners call us and say, you know, plants don't stop growing when there's COVID, and people are still hungry when there's COVID, and there's still all these needs when there's COVID. So this cannot shut down. And we try to tell them, we are here with you. So just tell us what you need.
And I will say, typically our days of service are like large groups. So we've had them before where they're like 30, 35. And this is a great way to like get to know a little bit about the way we do days of service, and like a smaller kind of more, oh, crew would be on board. Jane, yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, I love it. Thank you. Yeah, so it's a great way to kind of dip your toes into a day of service and get to know some students and make some good connections that way. And I'll be sending out to some reflection activities so we can kind of get students thinking a little bit more deeply about the great services you provide for our community. So thank you.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it here in a little bit, but Jesse just mentioned kind of our new framework that we're really trying to integrate into everything is the active citizen continuum. And so we'll talk about that in a minute, but we're going to be working more closely with our community partners to make sure that you have a great awareness of that active citizen continuum and that you're able to help our students when they're with you really identify where their actions while they're with you are falling along that continuum and how we can continue to help students move along the continuum during their time with you. So we'll talk about that here in just a minute as well. So next on the agenda is a hyperlink to the FGCU President Michael Martin, his statements on some of the recent headlines. We know that as individuals in this field, both in higher education and in nonprofit and government, we often have big bleeding hearts, and we want to really see just equality and justice for all. And so if you click on that hyperlink, we just wanted to draw attention and make sure that everyone saw the president's statements and what came out from his office in regard to a lot of the recent headlines. And really just to know that this university, as he says, a fundamental value of FGCU is unambiguous commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and a firm resolve to address racism, bigotry, and intolerance on our campus and beyond. And then you can go on and read the rest of his statements there. But we just wanted to share that as a reminder of where the university stands. And we know that a lot of the work that each of you are doing is in this regard as well. And this is where we are working with students, through the continuum that we'll talk about, but in many other ways to make sure that they are the most developed citizens that we possibly can be graduating and putting out into society. And you guys are a huge piece of that. We know we don't do that in isolation. Every moment that they are engaged with your organizations is a moment for them to be learning and growing and shaping who they're going to be for the rest of their lives. And so we just wanted to share that statement, and certainly let us know if you ever have questions. But as I mentioned, with all the COVID information, everything that the university puts out is public and is archived on the websites as well. Okay. One of my first meetings with you last fall, we talked about some of the driving forces of what we do in higher education and how you as great partners out in the community can help be engaged in that. So I wanted to kind of revisit something that I brought up with you back then, which was performance-based funding. So many people don't often know that higher education also lives under performance-based funding metrics. You can see hyperlinked there, and I'm going to share my screen here for a minute. So if you click on the first hyperlink, you'll actually be able to see the homepage for the state system of Florida and our performance-based funding metrics. And you'll be able to click through here and see the different allocations to each university and how that was allocated. What's important to note, though, is what the exact metrics are. And this is where you guys as partners, as co-educators, you really can help FGCU, and which in turn helps every student that walks in the door by being aware of these metrics and how what we do helps feed into these metrics. So we know that students who get engaged in the community stay longer and are less likely to drop out, less likely to transfer when they feel that commitment to the community, they feel engaged to the community. And that's what's happening when they're working with your organizations and they're working for the causes that you're showing them and introducing them to, and you're growing passion in them for Southwest Florida, and they're staying here and they're staying at FGCU, and they're finding academic passions that they're interested in through what they're doing with you. You know, that pipeline that Jessica talked about, going from service learning to intern to job, it's often the service learning part is that first piece, because it's often the place where they are solidifying what it is that they're studying and why they're going to study it, and the passion behind it all that they're getting from working with you. So when you look at the metrics here, you can see that 4-year graduation rate. So are they getting in and out in 4 years? They're staying on track, which means we know that the 4-year rate is a higher rate when students figure out what it is that they truly want to do and study earlier on, which they do with each of you. Number 5 metric there is that academic progress rate, the 2nd year retention, that's going from 1st year to 2nd year. So just like Jesse said, this week of Welcome Day of Service is targeted toward 1st year students as a way to help them get engaged, help them connect to the community, help them understand Southwest Florida. You know, many of our students haven't grown up here. And even if they did, a lot of times, you know, they're not naturally, because we always want to explore and go somewhere else. You know, but the more that they can work with you, the more connection they have to this region and to FGCU as a whole. So you can kind of look through the different metrics there. We do certainly connect to other ones as well, but those two are big ones for us. But I bring that up, and then let me also I bring that up because I mentioned it in the fall and I wanted to circle back and as a reminder, but also to show you that in the fall, it seemed a long way off, but the allocations did come out, and you can click here and see what the allocations were. So the allocations are based on scores, and you can see that FGCU was a score of 88 this year. And you can then see how it compares to each of the other schools in the state. And then these are the different allocations that we get. There's actually 2 pots. One pot every school contributes to, and then it gets redispersed. And then another pot comes straight from taxpayer Florida funds. And so you can see what all that looked like. Certainly a lot of details that on your daily basis you don't need to be working in and or really worry about, but I want you to know how important the piece of our students working with each one of you really does play into those metrics. And I've talked with a lot of you over my almost year here now, and you're so passionate about FGCU, and it's great to see. It's amazing to see. And so because of that passion for the growth of FGCU, the stability of FGCU, and the future of FGCU, I want you to know about these metrics. I want you to know some of these larger pieces that we're working in, so that we can all be great partners moving forward, and so that FGCU continues to thrive and grow as a place for our students. Any questions? Feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand. Okay. All right. So then that kind of leads me to our next thing, is what are our office goals? So those are kind of some big statewide things that influence the work that we do, and certainly the funding that we have. Oh, and I did also want to just kind of talk about the obvious as well. So several people have asked, you know, I'm hearing things about higher education. Is everything going to go online, and brick and mortar is going to shut down, and all that kind of stuff? Know that nobody knows the future, obviously, but for the time being, we are stable. Our president sends us updates on the budget pretty regularly, and everybody's kind of taking it one day at a time. But for now, we are stable and moving forward. We do have, every university pretty much has 4 university funding sources. and they are watching all 4 of those pretty clearly. I can tell you those funding sources, the president actually sent a message this morning to the university about it and kind of recap those sources. But the state, as I mentioned, is one of those 4 sources. And then the students is another. So we know that state funds may or may not be impacted, and student, what we're bringing in from student tuition may or may not be impacted. And so there's different areas that we're kind of just waiting to see, but for now we are doing what we do best, which is develop students and work with each one of you to make an impact in the community. And so if you ever do have questions and you want to talk more, give us a call or let us know. But like I said, it's all public information. None of it's kind of private, since we are a public university. So seeing no questions about any of that, let's jump into then the office goals. So this is really big for you guys to know and to understand as we move forward as partners, is that we have specific goals to help students reach their graduation requirement, and then specific goals around helping them develop into these more engaged citizens beyond graduation. So the first is the hours, service learning hours. Every student is either required at FGCU to track and have verified by you, by their partners that they're serving with, either 40 hours or 80 hours. And that's determined by their student type when they come in. So traditionally, if somebody comes in as a higher level transfer student, meaning that they did 59 credits, or I'm sorry, 60 credits, academic credits or more at a different university, and then they transferred here, they're only going to be required to do 40 hours. And if they came in as a traditional first-year student, they would be required to do 80 hours. I can tell you that as we've been looking back at numbers, about 80 to 83% of all of our graduating students over the last couple years have all largely exceeded their graduation requirement. So we say there's a requirement, and I know that many times you guys hear the students say, I only need 10 hours, I only need 15 hours, and that's all I need. But know that many of them, that's the starting point with you, and then they get hooked, and hooked in a really good way, and they keep serving with you. We see it because we're watching all their hours come in. And so know that even though their opening line with you may be, I only need 10 hours, know that once you get them hooked, they may be with you for a lot longer. And that's a really good thing. So don't let that phrase from them turn you off. In fact, you can say to them now, oh, I know, I've heard that before, but you're going to be with me a while. and many times they will be. So
Justin,
Sharon, go ahead.
Question about colloquium classes and the 10 hours. Are there additional 10 hours for those colloquium classes? So could you talk about that?
Yeah, great question, Karen. So no, those hours are part of their requirement, either their 40-hour requirement or their 80-hour requirement, but they're not additional to the graduation requirement. And really what it is when they come in the door at FGCU, at the beginning of their experience, they're told they have X requirement, and they can fulfill that requirement through classes like colloquium, which does often set a certain number of hours that they need to achieve. They might fill partly that whole requirement by working with a student organization. So if you've ever been contacted by a fraternity, a sorority, or student organization, and they say, we're looking to do a project, those students are filling a piece of that pie of, let's say the requirement is 80 hours, they're filling a piece of the pie from their colloquium class, they're filling a piece of that pie from their student organization, a piece of the pie may come from something they're just passionate about doing. I say they want to go work at the Humane Society and they love working with animals on Saturday mornings. That's all certainly going to count. So there's a lot of different ways that students, and a lot of students do research, and they do research either for the university or for some of you on this call, and that is also service learning. So think about that if you are in need of grants or funding that's larger than, kind of thinking outside the box for your organization. if you need research done that could help you get grants or help you be more effective, that's also service learning. So really think about all of that, but good question.
We had another one, and this was, do students need to log their volunteer hours through Eagle Career Link, or can they log them with the organization they're volunteering for?
Do you want to answer that, Justin?
Yeah. Sure. We absolutely for their graduation purposes need them to log their hours through Eagle Career Link. So I will say though that we've had a lot of benefit in students like keeping track of their hours separately too. You know, so we've had some students that have had a volunteer log that they've gotten from the organization that they've been with, and after a volunteer coordinator had to move to a different position, or structures change, they were actually able to get that log and use that to verify their hours too. So I would say the whole double logging is not a bad idea. It's not going to hurt anything. But in terms of getting them to graduation, they have to do it in Eagle Career Link. So is there a requirement of hours for the grad programs or well as just for undergrad?
Can I just say one quick thing about tacking on to what Jesse just said? If a student works with you, but you never get that verification email, that means that student never tracked those hours toward their graduation, which for you, it's one less email. However, if that student gets, let's say it's a first year student that's working with you and you never get an email asking you to verify their hours, there's potential that you'll get an email in 3 years when they're trying to graduate. And at that point, you'll say, I don't remember you. That does happen. Although we encourage them in every way possible not to let that happen, it does happen. So I put that out there to say, when you're working with students, you can also be a great influence and a great help to yourself and to us to just tell them, hey, please log these hours within the next month, within the next week, within the whatever time frame that you're comfortable with. Because that does save you the hassle, honestly, of then coming back 3 years later and trying to verify something that you do or don't remember.
And we could also send out, what we found to be helpful too is I've sent out emails to students that have volunteered with the Food Forest, because I help advise that organization, and I'll be use this name, use my phone number, use my email, and this is the title of the I list everything that they're going to need for their form, and that final email to just be make sure you submit those soon. This is the information you'll need. And it's kind of a good way to thank them for their time, and let them know what the next steps are too.
And I will say the other piece of that puzzle is not only can that help streamline things for you, but for the university, again, if you are FGCU proud, we want our recorded numbers of service learning hours as high as they can be. It allows us to get different designations nationally and things. And so every time you don't get an email from a student means they didn't record those hours toward their graduation, which means the university has no record of it. So they may have gotten those hours for that class, that one specific class, and they got an A in the class. But unless the hours got recorded into the university system for their graduation requirement, and you'll know because you'll get that email, unless that happened, as a university, we don't have those hours to report upward to the state and nationally as well. So just the more that we can do to encourage them to track every hour that they do with you, the better everyone will be.
And I will say, just to answer Karen's question before I keep going, in terms of, is there a requirement of hours for grad programs or just undergrad? Right now, it's just undergrad. We do try to encourage anyone and everyone, depending on, no matter their year, to definitely go out and serve. And there are certain grad programs that do ask students to help with a program or create a program, and that can be service based in terms of the way that they do that. It could be unpaid, but it's not something that is a graduation requirement.
Any other questions? These are great questions. Keep them coming. Okay. So some of our office goals are around exactly what we're talking about, increasing the number of recorded service learning hours, but also increasing the rate at which students get to their graduation requirement. So we are going to be doing some incentives to really get students thinking more and more about doing those hours before, or I should say within their first 2 years at FGCU. You may have had experiences where students are about to graduate and they come to you freaking out because they need to still do so many hours of service learning before they can graduate, and they're 3 weeks away from graduation. We have really shifted the process now by which we tell students about the requirement from orientation, from the moment they step on campus. And we're going to be implementing some great practices and programs and initiatives to get them really focused on reaching their requirements within their first 2 years here. So what that means for you is you should, hopefully, fingers crossed, be seeing more first and second year students reaching out to you and interested in engaging in you. And where that opportunity, where it becomes a true great opportunity for you, a really rich experience for you, is if they're doing hours with you, service learning hours with you in their first or second year. We talked about that hook, or I mentioned that getting them hooked on your organization. Now you'll have potentially 2 or 3, depending if it's their first year or second year, to work with them, to get them hooked into what you're doing. And as they grow through FGCU, you can also be working with them more and more at your organization and providing different opportunities that allow them to go deeper into the work that you do. So hopefully, fingers crossed, over the coming years, again, if this was a regular semester, we had a lot of great things in play to really push this point hard of getting students to focus within their first 2 years on service learning. We've had to modify and tweak a lot of those plans. So in the coming years, you should see more first and second year students really reaching out to you than you have in the past. And I'd love to hear feedback. If you're seeing that or not seeing that over the coming year, let us know. It'll help us to continue to do the work that we're doing.
Justin, we have a quick question in the chat. Are there examples / criteria for what activities are approved for service learning? And then are students allowed to participate in C4 activities?
Yeah, Michael. So Michael, so examples of activities, really, as long as you are with a nonprofit, a not-for-profit, or government agency, the activities don't have a lot of parameters because we want you to craft it in a way that connects the students to the work that you're doing in the community. So obviously, we want students to have a really great developmental experience, but that is going to look very different from organization to organization. And students will be coming to you for different reasons and different moments. So for example, Jesse mentioned earlier our day of service. That is a quick kind of dipping the toe in the water, a quick snapshot of what you do. You're only with them for a couple hours on a Saturday morning. And that's a very different experience than if students reach out to you on behalf of a class that they're in and they want to work with you for 10 weeks and you have that experience with them. So we want it to be as rich as possible, and we call each of you co-educators because we know that they're getting a great education with you. And we'll go through some of the frameworks that we're operating from and hope that you will as well. But the exact tasks aren't really going to be outlined at any point. However, individually, I'm happy to, Jesse as well, we work with community partners all the time to think through what the experience can be, how can it be a rich experience, how can it fit what you need and what the students are looking for, and to really come to a great marriage in whatever action it is. So, some quick examples. Jesse has a really great example of, in this virtual setting, a student has taken on putting together lesson plans in gardens for elementary school students. And so the student never had to leave their computer. So they were able to do hours of work to put together lesson plans by researching online, everything about gardens and things that then could be translated down kind of to an elementary school age level. But for that organization, it's a great task because now they have lesson plans that they can use with all age levels. And so it's really a matter of what you need and what is going to be best for the format that the students are coming to you in. And then I see another question. Will you be confirming receipt of our service day request and number of students to expect? Jesse, I'll let you answer that one.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you signed up for WOW, you should actually be receiving the email within the hour. Soon. Lisa Page and I are working on that, and then we're hoping to get out as soon as the registration closes for the rest of them. We're hoping to confirm things then. But if you have any questions in terms of what's been submitted or anything like that, definitely let me know.
Great. Thanks for all the questions, guys. Yeah, keep them coming. All right. The next point I wanted to hit, or next office goal that I wanted to mention to you is beyond just the hours, is the stronger integration into courses across campus. So when I say courses, often there may be multiple sections of a course, but if a student is taking a course, that might be one section or one of, say, 5 or 10 different sections within that course. So when we have a course that has service learning integrated into it, you're really getting many sections of students that are all doing service learning. What that means for you is that a student may contact you and say that, or I'm sorry, you may have 2 groups of students that contact you and say that they are looking for a great project for their class. They may be in the same titled class or course, but coming to you from different sections. So it doesn't always mean that the students that they know each other, that they're working together. They may be totally separate groups of students who are not in the same section, but they're from the same course title. So I wanted to give you that context. I know I've heard that question before. But one of our goals is to really increase the number of courses and classes that have service learning in it. What that will mean for you is that more students will be reaching out. So if you've had good experience with classes, if you've had bad experiences, either way, we want to hear feedback from you throughout the year. We want to know what is working really well with the classes that you've worked with, the groups from classes or individual students from classes, and what has not worked well. So just send me an email, let me know, we can connect individually and talk through some of that. The more that we can know what is working and what is not working, the better we can prepare the instructors for those classes and the students who are then coming to you. So especially if there are issues, we want to be able to resolve those on a larger administrative scale versus you having to deal with the same issue every single time, every single student. So let us know, but that is happening from our office, is trying to integrate service learning into as many classes as possible. And then revamping the database, streamlining that process. So we have heard from you and from our students and from our administrators that sometimes the process for tracking those hours, like we were talking about earlier, can be a little confusing. Know that we are revamping things a little bit with that process in the coming semester, and come January, we'll roll out some changes that hopefully will make things a little more streamlined for you and for the students. And as many of you know, we have a database where all of your information lives currently. That database is currently living on our website. So at the top of the agenda, if you click on Service Learning, the Office of Service Learning and Civic Engagement, you can see our website. You can find the database there. We do have someone currently going through that entire database of, I think, almost 400 partners, and calling and emailing every single partner on there to try to get updated information, because we know some of it's outdated. This is going to be really important when we work this semester to make those tweaks that I mentioned, because we're going to be transitioning that information over to a new area online. And so more details will certainly be coming about that, but know that we will be, more so than we have in the past, or recent past, we'll be reaching out to you a couple times about your information as listed on our online platforms. And then we'll also be giving you tweaks by January. We hope to be giving you tweaks to some of the details about how you post information, how you post opportunities, how you approve students' hours, all of that. Just know that all of the tweaks are intended for good. We know that when things change, sometimes it's hard, but just know that every tweak that we make is intended for good and intended to make things even easier for hopefully all three of our audiences, which is we're working with all of our students on campus, we're working with all of you as our great partners out in the community, and then we're working with all of our faculty who are teaching courses across campus. So students, faculty, and you who are all working with the same platform. So we're gonna be doing the best that we can, but look for information throughout the fall about some of those tweaks to our platforms and to our database. Don't see any other questions popping in there, so we will jump down to our 2 o'clock topic here. FGCU partner and FGCU co-educator. So we really truly do see all of you as co-educators. And I'd love to, I know Andrea put a great comment in there about working with students. I'd love to just take a minute, maybe virtually use the raise hand button or somehow indicate that you want to share here. But I'd love to turn it over to you for a minute to, for you to share with the group any kind of experience that you've had where you have been able to really see growth in a student. So you were working with a student or a group of students where you saw them grow during the time that they were with you.
Hi, this is Lori with Harry Chapin Food Bank.
Yeah, hi, Lori.
Hi, we have had several students and we've always had great experiences with all of them that we have received. But one of the things that we have done this year is really try to incorporate them instead of just doing in our warehouse, to also go out to the field and do some of the distribution of food. And we have so they could see what they started in the warehouse and then where it was really going and how it pertained to everybody from start to finish. We have seen the students have said, this is amazing. We didn't realize this is, the impact that we're making in the warehouse until they went out and actually did the distribution and saw, what they did. So we think it's wonderful. They've been great.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to share an example? Yeah, Karen, go ahead.
We've had a couple of students who have really, been very, very quiet and timid to begin with. And then as they've gotten comfortable and, come back week after week, have really grown and matured. And to me, it's so nice to see that, because that now they're comfortable and they're not so afraid to talk, and, they're engaging the conversation or starting the conversation first without having to drag it out of them.
Yeah, I feel like every time I'm teaching, it's those quiet students who end up having the best projects, the best engagement with the community. Yeah, they're really great. Great, and I saw Shalyn posted in the chat box a link for you to share your success stories. So we are always trying to collect those stories in order to highlight on our website, FGCU 360, which is one of the publications at FGCU, as well as some of the, usually before graduation, they're looking for stories to put out in different publications. Anything that you can submit helps us to be able to provide really great information out to the public about what's happening at your sites with our students. Anyone else want to share? Okay. So I want to just kind of, for some of you who were with us in the fall and spring, you've heard us talk about these. I want to quickly kind of bring us back up to speed on these, and then on these frameworks that I'm going to mention here that are in the agenda, and then get any questions and thoughts from you as well. So as I mentioned, you're co-educators with us, so I really want you to understand the framework that we're walking students through and how they may engage with you at different points in their path along the framework. So the first one is, I'm going to share my screen here. the first one here that we want you to know about and remember for anyone who was with us before is the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So we have previously, over the years, talked with students about social issues, quote unquote, social issues that they're really passionate about. Are you passionate about animals? Are you passionate about plants and trees or the environment or water? What this does is allows us to align that language and that lens for the students to a global language that all of the countries within the United Nations are speaking. And so you'll see on this page, again, it's hyperlinked from the agenda, but you'll see on this page that there are 17 goals that the United Nations have put out and are put together. And as you scroll over each one, just by mousing over, you can see some of the information, some of the stats on each goal. But then as you click in, you can learn a lot more about each goal. Why this is important for you is a couple of reasons. One, we are going to be adding this information regarding each of your organizations to the updates to the platform that I mentioned before. So I mentioned that we're going to be updating all of your information. We're reaching out to you about that information. So it's really important for, at some point in the coming weeks, for you to look over this page and think about where your organization falls within these goals. Know that there are some social issues, as we used to talk with the students about, there are some social issues that fall within multiple of these goals. So for example, human trafficking actually falls within 3 of these goals. So if you're an organization that works to prevent or educate people on human trafficking, you would actually have 3 different goals listed on your database. And so students in classes are talking more and more about this. So as more classes get integrated with service learning, these will also become more of the conversation. There's a lot of different organizations on campus that are using these just in conversation. We're doing a lot with students around the Sustainable Development Goals. So increasingly, they're going to be very aware of them and hopefully talking with you about them. But as co-educators, as they're working with you, we want you to be having conversations about how your organization fits within certain goals that the United Nations and all the countries that are part of the United Nations are working toward. So if you ever have questions that you want to look at the work of your specific organization and talk through kind of, I think it might be a goal 11, I think it might be 4, help me kind of make that decision. We are happy to talk with you about that. We're happy to look more specifically at the work you're doing and try to make sure that you are aligned with the right goals, because then these are going to be used at things like the Service Learning Fair and anywhere the students are looking at your information, both online and in person. When we get back to in person, they're going to be connecting what they've identified in their classes regarding these goals for themselves to the work that you're doing and what you've listed. One thing I strongly recommend not doing, the opposite of a best practice here, is clicking all of them. So if we ever send you a form and say, which of these align with the work that you're doing, please don't click all of them, because that doesn't help the student then connect to what it is that they're looking at. So again, if you want to ever talk through it more one-on-one and look at the work you're doing, please let me know. The other thing I will share is when you do click in, there it goes. When you do click in, you can see targets and indicators of each goal. And these are where you start to see things really connect with what we used to just kind of generically call social issues. So as you go through here, you'll start to see, like I mentioned, human trafficking being under 3 different goals. It's within the targets and indicators within 3 different goals. So that's the United Nations that's the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and that's how it's going to connect with the work that you're doing with our students in the coming year. So I wanted you to be aware of that. And then the second thing here is our active citizen continuum. So the active citizen continuum is, just as the word says, it's a continuum from left to right as students move along, we talked about this in great depth at our last workshop, so I won't go too far into it, but really just to know and to reiterate that everything we are doing in our office, especially this fall, now that we kind of have a new academic year, will align to this. In fact, we have a student worker who is going to be leading students in the volunteer stage. So a lot of the traditional volunteer activities that we've always done will be under kind of that area of our office. We have a student worker that is going to be working with us on this stage, the conscientious citizen stage, which that stage is all focused on education. So we may also reach out to you, the students in our office working on this area may also reach out to you and say, you know, we're looking for someone who can provide really great expert education on hunger issues or homelessness or, you know, pick the issue. And this group in our office, this phase of our office is going to be really working on what can we do to get students learning more deeply about what it is that they did or want to do. So one of the ways those will connect is if you said that you've done a day of service with us in the past, we'll be working to follow up with students after their day of service experience to help them progress along the continuum. So by being part of day of service, they entered into this volunteer stage. They were out there doing something, but we want to, and we are working then to move the students along into the education stage or the conscientious citizen stage here. And then this last stage, if you, as a reminder from last time we met, that last stage is the active citizen stage. And that's where students start to, you know, they learned about the root causes of some of the issues that they care about, but that active citizen stage is where they start to create solutions to those root causes. And so those solutions might be initiatives, they might be developing new coalitions across the community or at FGCU. It might be something national that they want to see happen as a solution. Maybe it's a new invention or just you know, some new habit that they want people to do or not do. So want to remind you that this is a framework that we are working from, and the more that you're aware of it, the better we are, because our students are certainly going to be referencing it throughout the year. And then I'll jump down here. It's not hyperlinked, but we are really working to engage students in the political engagement sense of community engagement. And so what that looks like is, as students move along the continuum, we want them to know that in order to develop deep-rooted change, they need to understand their responsibilities and their influence as a citizen in this country. And so there's a lot of conversation in these stages around what does good citizenship look like? How do I make sure that I'm influencing the issues I care about as a voter, as somebody who supports or doesn't support different candidates? If there's an issue I really care about, but I'm never asking candidates what they think, I'm not looking at the platforms and you know, is my issue even on the candidate's platform that, you know, I want to vote for or don't want to vote for? So we really want students to start to connect the things they're so passionate about to the larger responsibilities as a citizen in this country. And so what that also looks like is some initiatives that we're taking on. Shallon's going to be leading our office this fall, especially with the big presidential election that kind of gets a lot of attention, to really get students educated on voting issues, their responsibilities around voting, and their influence, their potential influence in voting, and then to get them registered to vote. So our office is service learning and civic engagement, and we take the entire continuum here to heart. And so we really are going to be working with students to help them engage in those ways. And then last but not least, under this portion is our NACE career readiness skills. So I'm going to pull those up. And so one of the great things about the NACE career readiness skills is kind of what was already mentioned during when we were sharing the experiences, is that, you know, students start to really come out of their shell. They start to realize that they have skill sets that maybe they've never used or that they haven't had a chance to tap into fully. And so these skills that you see up on the screen when you click that link they are 8 skill sets that employers have told universities across the country that they are looking for in recent graduates. So we really want, and we are working really hard within Jessica's department, as we kind of mentioned these 3 areas in Jessica's department, to make sure that students coming out of FGCU have these skill sets and are finding opportunities where not only do they have the skill set, but that when they sit down with a future employer and the employer is asking them questions, that they have great examples to talk about how these skill sets have been developed. So that's, again, where each of you come in. As you're working with our students, we want you to be fully aware of these competencies that employers across the country, sometimes you guys are looking for as well. But if a student has an opportunity, let's say oral and written communication, if they have an opportunity while they're working with you to give a presentation or to lead a meeting or to do anything that enhances their communication skills, not only can you help them step into that role, but you can also help them understand what they're gaining from it and how a future employer really is looking for that. Same with leadership. Digital technology is especially a growing one right now, where there's lots of opportunities for students to be able to work with you to gain that skill set. So we just, again, want you to be aware of these frameworks so that as you're working with students, you can help them get those experiences around these frameworks, but then also understand and be able to articulate what it is that they're experiencing. All right. Any questions on those frameworks? So this co-educator part is a little heavy in the content, I know, but hopefully it's also interesting to you and to the work that you're doing beyond just working with our students. You know, I have talked with many different entities, whether they're churches or other nonprofits or government agencies, that are starting to use the Sustainable Development Goals. They're starting to use the Active Citizen Continuum. At our last workshop, I had an organization over in Cape Coral come up to me and say they're already using the Active Citizen Continuum with their volunteers that they work with. So none of these frameworks, well, I should say all these frameworks except the career readiness skills, they're not specific to college students. We just are using them with our college students because we know that it really enhances their growth and development. But you can be using these frameworks with everyone that you work with. And so, you know, that is an option always on the table for you. And if you ever, you know, this was a taste of it for you, we'll be talking about it here briefly, and you want to learn more, you want to dive deeper into this, let us know. We are happy to work with you and to help you understand it better and to find ways to integrate it into the work that you're already doing. All right. I don't see any other questions popping up. So we're actually going to turn it to you guys a little bit to have some conversation. We are going to try to do some breakout rooms here. So I think we've got it handled. So how to do this? So let me just click a couple buttons. So in a minute here, we're going to put you into breakout rooms. So there's 40 people. We're going to put you into breakout rooms and ask that you just spend about 2 or 3 minutes. There'll be a little timer that comes up to tell you that the breakout room is going to end. So what it's going to do, if you haven't experienced the breakout room yet in Zoom, it's going to automatically divide you into smaller groups. And on the agenda there is that the prompt for the first question of where have you seen the new virtual format play to your advantage? So one of the reasons I'm asking this question in this meeting is that I want us to understand that there's a silver lining here. Certainly none of us would have chosen COVID to happen, but I've heard passively a lot of silver linings. Our own team has discussed a lot of silver linings for ourselves. And so I want us to kind of focus on some of the positive things that are coming out of this, and for you to be able to have some conversations amongst each other about what some of those positive things are. So if you can kind of either as a group take notes or just be prepared, we'd love to, as you come back, have someone from each group just share a little bit about what you discussed with that prompt of where have you seen the new virtual format play to your advantage. And I also put there, think about some examples over the past 4 months, maybe research, videos and trainings. What has it looked like for you, and how's that worked out? So again, bear with us, but don't leave us, because we've got a lot of great information after this as well. So let's do. All right. Should go right. All right.
Okay. Oops.
We'll just give everybody a couple minutes to come back in from their groups. See the screen continue to populate. All right. Just like that, everybody's back.
That was fast.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have another minute, another time for you to do some breakout questions and answers here in just a little bit. But I couldn't tell if you guys are all sitting there maybe in silence or if you're doing great. So yeah, you'll get a chance to go back in your rooms here in just a minute. But with the conversations that you were able to start having, tell me from your groups. I won't call out names. I'll just let you decide. From your groups, tell me what you talked about. Love to have one person from each group at least.
In group 5, we most of us said that we're able to participate in a lot more webinars, group talks. We're able to collaborate a lot more since we didn't have to worry about getting places. It was all virtual. So a lot more collaboration. So that was great.
Yeah.
We had quite a few, again, same as yours, virtual ability to connect with other people on a national level, a way to keep the volunteers connected, provide cross-training, don't waste time driving somewhere, allowed more time to schedule the online orientation for volunteers. And also it the tool provided a unique way to do some brainstorming and operations analysis that we had not used before. And actually, I'm going to continue that after the virtual stuff goes away. So.
Yeah, can you tell me more just briefly about the analysis that you've been able to do now that you weren't able to do before?
Right. So for example, if we're doing process improvement activities, we're able to, the people come together. Normally we would have a brainstorming session if we're looking for improvement opportunities. And you know how some people are quiet, some people talk, some others don't. So I integrated a tool. You can collect data. Actually, you tie it to Google, one of the Google forms, so that I'll ask a question while they're online. People submit the data via that. It goes directly to the database where it's automatically graphed. People are not, and they're not able to over talk other people. Everybody's able to participate, and they're able to do it anonymously, so they're not afraid of what they say is going to be poo-pooed by superiors. It's a great tool for that kind of among other things. That's just one example.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for sharing. Great. So we've got group 5 and 7 doing good things. Who was in group 1? Anybody want to share from group 1?
I don't remember what my group number was.
Donna, I can see all your groups on my end. Donna, you were in group 6.
Okay.
You want to share from group 6?
Sure, why not? Basically, who is still able to engage volunteers virtually. Some of us are having a little more difficulty with that since we are not open. I have a state agency, Rookery Bay, and they're not allowing us to have volunteers on site, and those that are working out in the field are very few. So, and Karen Canetta from Collier County Museums mentioned that her and I are part of a volunteer coordinator networking group here in Collier County. And anyone that manages volunteers is welcome. It's been a great support for all of us in every aspect of how to deal with volunteers of every age. And we do talk about FGCU quite a bit. So that's kind of what we were talking about.
Right. Thanks, Donna. So we've got 5, 6, and 7. Somebody else want to?
I'm going to say, I think Samantha or Melanie or Morgan or Carolyn, someone else from group 2 should go.
And this is Melanie from the Lighthouse. Our assistive technology instructors were able to find a new way to work with their clients in remoting into whatever device they were learning to use, whether it's an iPad or a computer or phone, to assist remotely to keep both parties safe, to instruct and teach the individual how to use their devices. So that's something that we plan to continue to do in the future as well.
That's great. Yeah. How about group 1? We've got Kelsey, Madeline, Marcella, Susan, Clara.
This is Mike. I don't know what group number I was in.
Go ahead. Oh, you were in group 4. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay. Anyhow, I was with Cora, and it was the two of us that were kind of going over some things, and she was doing a great job with autistic children, and what she was doing, they were using a lot of computers to connect with their youths, and making it work virtually, and just making that happen. So it was amazing what they were doing. And I'm with Keighley County Beautiful, and what we're doing virtually is more kind of letting the youths be able to do some like videos for us, and being able to put those kind of things together, some educational things. And we kind of tell them, we give them the subject, if they turn out good enough, then we will put them up on our Facebook website, trying to educate the public on different topics. So
that's great. Yeah, great to hear.
That's kind of where we're at.
I just want to add one more thing. We had a great conversation with Mike, but as an overall, it's great to see how we can use technology at our advantage. How from what do? We used to be face-to-face all the time. We used to have big groups, gatherings, to we just have, the internet. So how we can use the internet to keep our programs, to keep providing resources, to keep working in our agencies. So it's been great. At first I'm like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to work with kiddos on the spectrum? Many of them, cannot, stay seated for a long period of time, or they struggle with so many areas, but then it worked. So it has been fantastic to see the progress, to see how we can use music, videos, and any other resources that we were not using before, and implementing to what's happening right now. So it has been great.
And Cora, are you using volunteers at all right now?
As of right now, no, but that's coming. Now that we have everything planned and situated, we'll be having, FGC volunteers be part of our virtual programs.
Great. Excellent. Any other groups want to share?
Hi, I am Marcella from Endless Brain. We work with special needs population children, specifically age 4 to 14, and within of the area Naples and Fort Myers. Right now we're launching our programs just virtually, and our group was just meeting, and we currently are not using volunteers yet, but we look forward to work with you in the near future.
Excellent. And Marcella, have you guys been able to internally do anything different during this remote experience time that you weren't able to do before?
Well, yes, and we're very lucky. We basically have music learning opportunities that target social skills and expression. So that was easily transferred into the digital format, and we started doing our play groups and music classes as early as mid-April to be exact. So we've been meeting regularly, and the families like it. Our programs are free of cost. The only difficulty has been the the ability to reach out to more families. You know, we always hear that like, oh, I didn't know you were doing this kind of program, and you know, we just started, you know, and so we haven't had any difficulties as far as communicating through the virtual mode.
Great, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Would anyone else like to share?
So I will mention too, just from like my side, that I advise the food forest with, we're an on-campus garden, and we've had, you know, we've really tried to lean into this virtual world, but I think like Justin had said, like gardens keep growing. So what we tried to initiate too this summer was no contact service. And so we've actually set up zones within the food forest in specific areas. And then we have like a list, kind of like a worksheet that students are supposed to go through, and they can be set into a zone and they can go out to that zone. And then there's certain flags and indicators of things that they're supposed to be working on. And the great part about that is that like I can FaceTime in with them if they have specific questions, but they can then go out there on their own time and their leisure and water the certain plants or check in on the certain area and then submit that form back to me. And so I thought that that was a really great step forward, because the reality is I think even when we do return, it'll be nice to have students be able to have their own time period and leisure to be able to go out there, and whether that's on the weekend or this or that, but not specific to just service events. So I think that's even when things go back to normal, I think that's something that we're actually going to continue to do, is just like this idea of no contact service and kind of make that a little bit more robust. And then, you know, we've done a lot more fundraising, research than we ever have before, just because like, we've been focusing on things that we can do from our home, which has been really great. And big shout out to a lot of you. You've submitted some fantastic virtual opportunities for our students. So I know like Madeline hasn't said anything, but you've done a really great job with the Boys and Girls Club. Like you were first one that was like, let's make videos for my kids. Let's get that out there. And I thought it was really great. Cystic Fibrosis has done a lot of great work too. So I can't shout out to everyone right now, but I do appreciate everything that you all have done and made that pivot really, really well. So.
I think Lindsay from Citizens Climate Action had a question.
You said Lindsay does? Lindsay?
Yeah, hi. Our intern was able to, I'm with Citizens Climate Lobby. We're an international and national group, so we do our training virtually anyway, but and I met the FGCU student at the garden, and I've met her one time in person because I'm clear up in Port Charlotte and she's down there in Lee County. But at any rate, we put her on our lobby team. So we normally go to DC, all the volunteers around the country. We go to DC in person. Last year we had 1,500 people at our virtual conference, and we held 500 meetings with congresspersons and senators. This year we had to go virtual, and our student, we put her on the lobby team. So there's really no other way she would have been able to do that. So we spent hours training, you know, figuring out how we were going to lobby and who was going to say what and who was going to present, you know, information and so forth. So that was a good experience for her. But then actually seeing what that lobbying was like, I think was really valuable for her and for us as well. It was great learning all the way around.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. What a great experience. That connects right back to everything we've talked about of getting those career readiness skills and to have those experiences that will build her into, you know, being a really great engaged citizen for the rest of her life. Even if she doesn't professionally go into anything related to that, to have that awareness, that understanding, that ability, and what great answers she'll have for future interview experiences.
Yeah, plus we had an idea for a project for her, and she said, no, that won't work. and so she designed a project which is actually scalable across our organization. And so she brought her creativity and actually changed our minds as a group about what we wanted to do on campus. So it was really, we learned from her.
That's great to hear. Thanks for sharing. And is Michael still there? I saw at one point I saw Michael had his literal hand up. I don't see him on my screen anymore though. So great. Any other examples or questions?
Hello.
Yeah, Madeline?
Oh, sorry, I've been so quiet. So I just wanted to share, so we have been doing educational videos. A lot of FGC students have been submitting some amazing videos. Like one was gardening, and he literally built a whole garden in his backyard, which was pretty neat. And we're utilizing all the educational videos in our virtual clubhouses online. So right now we're working at a limited capacity. So usually, like I said in my group, we have 600 kids. Now we have about 55 max. I think we've only gotten to about 35 kids in the club for one of the clubs. So the educational videos that are sent to me, I send to our program staff, and they utilize them in the virtual clubhouse. So they've been keeping a list, and it's definitely helped the students get hours, and it's safe for students to do it that way. We don't have to worry about, or it's less contact, so we don't have to worry about the transmission of COVID if anyone has that. Hopefully not. So it's been easier. And also, I want to say a downside though, because it is a big advantage, but the downside is Boys and Girls Club requires background screenings, and right now our virtual programs for volunteers are on a hold because we're trying to figure out what that's going to look like for the students coming in to help with our students here. So, yeah.
We've been talking with some other organizations about background checks as well. So glad you brought that up. And I know everybody's trying to decide the right way to do that in a virtual setting. Some examples I put in the agenda, Jesse shared about the food forest. Madeline just sharing about Boys and Girls Club. Another one was Wings of Shelter. I don't think we have anyone on from Wings of Shelter, but I actually had two students that were in a class that I had in the spring who they were able to reach a much larger audience by they had already, they started the semester working with an organization called Wings of Shelter on human trafficking, and they had already in the works had plans for some workshops, I guess, to raise awareness and train others on how to recognize when someone is in a human trafficking situation. And they were just going to have a workshop at a local church, and they were going to have a workshop on campus, and they expected to probably have about 10 people at each of those. Well, they ended up having multiple workshops online and had a much larger and much more diverse attendance, and they really saw a lot of great outcomes from taking it online, where anybody could come in, where if they had held it on campus, it's, somebody might not be able to come to campus and actually sit through the workshop at that one specific time. I have also found, as we're doing here, that the ability to record an experience and then to make it on demand and available for others as they have time has also, myself included, there have been workshops or webinars that I have not been able to go to, but then to have the recording to go back to is really helpful. Great. So thanks for sharing all those best practices, those examples. Jesse, any other best practices that we wanted to share? I think we kind of hit on most of them. I would say, just for everyone, if you have something that you think, oh man, I wish this could happen, but it just can't because we can't be in person right now, give us a call. Jesse especially is becoming an expert in transitioning opportunities and thinking through how can we do something virtually that's going to help address that in-person need that normally can only be in person, but just getting very good at that. So, definitely give her a call, give me a call. We'll talk through that with you and get something virtual online if you can't have people in person. All right. Reading a couple chats coming in. If you send me a private chat, I'll be sure to get back to you after the call here. Looking down the agenda, we're doing great on time. We're looking at future planning. So as we look at this fall, I have the service learning request form there for you that we kind of mentioned earlier. That form is something, like I mentioned earlier, you should bookmark. You should just always use that. And that is anytime you have an opportunity at all. It doesn't have to only be at the beginning of the semester. It's just the beginning of the semester is the best chance to get as many eyeballs on that opportunity as you can. In that form, we also ask a question if you'd like to connect with a class. And so you'll have the opportunity in that form to say, yes, I would like to connect with a class, which means you'll be with the same group of students all semester. So that's a perfect opportunity if you have a tangible project in mind and you want to attach it for research, or you want to have students directly volunteer with you or indirectly do service with you, whatever that might look like. If you want to be connected to a class, that process is a little slower because if you check that box now, most of our instructors for the fall and sometimes even for spring, they have a pretty good outline of what they're doing. And so it might not be until next spring or summer that a class is able to partner with you, but sometimes we're able to make an immediate connection as well. And then we've also listed the link there for the Service Learning Fair. So please, please, please make sure that you have registered for the Service Learning Fair that's coming up. It is virtual, but I think it's a pretty great design. Jesse's been working really hard to put together that design of the format for the day and kind of have things outlined in a way that I think everybody will really find works according to your comfort. Jesse, do you want to walk through what that day is going to look like and give another plug for everybody to register?
I'd love to. Thanks. Yeah, because I just, I think with the fair, we really wanted that opportunity for students to be able to hop in and chat like automatically with you, because ideally it used to be in this big ballroom and they could walk in and have that conversation. And so when we were thinking about doing just online presentations, we were a little hesitant to have you come on and give a presentation and then in a few minutes someone else hop on and give one, because then you're still unable to actually interact and ask questions and give, feedback to students in that real time. So what we're doing for the fair is we're going to have all the videos pre-recorded. And so I don't know if people are waiting to sign up because they're trying to make their videos, and that's fine. I would say you can register and then always send the videos to us later on too, just so I can get an idea of how many people are actually thinking about coming. I'm sorry, that's my dog. So the idea is we're going to have the videos kind of going one after another. And during that time period, everyone can be on Slack. Not sure if you've heard it. It's something that the university's been using as a way for instant messaging. So we'll have different groups that you guys can be in, you all can be in. And so you can chat back and forth with students. Students can find you, ask questions. And this will be from the 10 to 1 time period. So throughout that time, you can chat with students. If it might be during your presentation, it might not be. But the great part is that if they want to jump in and be like, hey, Nancy, I'd love to talk to you about something happening at United Way, they can actually still do that. And then from 1 to 2, we're going to do a session kind of like what we had a moment ago with breakout rooms. So we're going to have around 20 Zoom channels happening at once, and everyone's going to have, hopefully there'll be a few of you in one Zoom channel, and if a student hops in, you can then talk to them in real time, face to face. So we're still trying to get that feel to happen. So if you're interested in joining, really all I need from you ahead of time is just a quick 5-minute video. You can send that to us. What we're using right now is Dropbox transfer. So you'll open up a Dropbox account, save your file to that, and then it just sends me a link that I can download, which has been really great for large files. And then from there, I just need you to sign in that day and chat with students if they message you, and then get on for the 1 to 2, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. happy hour. So it should be a really fun day. Different.
We had a question in the chat too. Andrea, she said if, back to partnering with classes, does it has to be a virtual project?
No, it doesn't have to be a virtual project. In fact, every class that has service learning in it will actually have a safety statement in the syllabus that students need to acknowledge some of the additional risks by volunteering or serving in person right now, and that if they are uncomfortable with that, then they will be allowed to ask for an alternative assignment or to do something virtually. So it doesn't need to be virtual. I will say, talking with a lot of the faculty members, honestly, a lot of them are going virtual not because of conditions right now as much as faculty in the spring had to do a quick pivot mid-semester to an online setting. And that was really hard. The hard part wasn't being online. The hard part was making a pivot from from in-person to online in the spring. And so a lot of our faculty are afraid of starting in person and then needing to pivot their projects for their classes in the middle of the semester. There are still some that are open to any students that want to, or I shouldn't say there are some, there are a lot of faculty who are open. If students want to do something in person, they're welcome to, but they're leaving that to the students to decide. So yes, it's a long answer to say it does not need to be virtual, but you would probably get more response from classes if it was virtual, but it doesn't need to be. I did want to mention one other thing about the Service Learning Fair is, I talked about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Jesse's going to actually be organizing each of you, all of you who register into those different Zoom channels or those Zoom rooms according to those goals. So again, it's really important for you to understand where the work of your organization falls so that as you register, you select the right places. But then Jesse will also work with you to really get you placed into where aligns best for you, for our students. So what will happen on the student side is a lot of classes require that students go to the Service Learning Fair as part of the class. And so you will get a lot of that guaranteed attendance for the students who are coming because they're required to for class. But they're required to for class because that class usually includes a project that they need to find a partner for. So there's a lot of dominoes set up here, but one of the key pieces is you guys being at the Service Learning Fair. And then when they come, they're being asked to find partners aligned with the conversations they're having in class about the Sustainable Development Goals. So the students are going through activities and conversations about what Sustainable Development Goals do I identify with, and then they're being told, okay, when you go to the Service Learning Fair, look for the organizations that align with your Sustainable Development Goals.
I will also say, I'm hoping to keep these videos and to continue to use them. We're with this new virtual world, right? This is the kind of resource that we want to be providing students. So even if you can't make it that day and you still want to send in a video, please do so, because we're going to be uploading and kind of keeping those for a little bit, and hope to keep moving forward with videos in a way to connect with our students.
Excellent. Great. Any questions before we move on about any of the events for this fall, any logistics for the fall, ways to connect for the fall? One of the goals here is to make sure that you feel like whatever your calendar is shaping up to be, that you know where and when you can fit in connection points to our students. All right. Great. And then if it ever comes up that you would like to do something more with our students, you want to have a workshop virtually with our students, you want to, however you see a connection point that maybe we aren't coming to you asking for, but you want to initiate that, just let us know. We are happy to entertain new ideas and to look at what that could play out to be. All right, we'll do one last breakout room conversation here of challenges or barriers. So we kind of talked about the upside of things, but challenges or barriers. And I guess give me a pulse here. Type in the chat box. Do you want to do breakout rooms or just full group? I'm seeing Mary say full group. Either one. Okay, we'll go full group. I've got two full groups in either one. Okay, so let's just open the question then of any challenges or barriers that you either have seen recently or that you are worried about potentially happening that we can chat through. And I guess I would ask, like, what have been your biggest barriers or challenges, especially when it comes to working with our students during this time?
I'll go first. This is Carolyn from the Lighthouse. And I was chatting with Jesse privately because some of the times we have volunteers who want to work with our clients and they have to have a level 2 background check. And so sometimes that is a barrier because they really want to work with the clients and we would love them to, but we know that that's an expense and not every college kid has a level 2 background check.
Yeah, and the students need to provide the funding, is that correct?
That is correct. And we had some students that had come to us wanting to do a project. And the other part of the holdback is, and Melanie, who's on the call with me today from the Lighthouse, she's our HR coordinator. She can chime in as well if she wants to, is it takes a couple of weeks, sometimes a month. Well, once they're into their project, you know, a month has gone by and we haven't really done anything yet because they don't have their level 2 background check back.
Yeah. Do you ever have success in those situations, creating projects where they're still able to do something impactful, but they're not working directly with the clients?
Well, like I was sharing with Jesse on our little breakouts there, I've been with the organization for 8 months and Melanie's been with us, I think 4 months. So I'm new to the organization. Okay. And so the pandemic started in March. So I was only like 3 or 4 months in at that time. So I haven't had the opportunity, but I'm reaching out and trying to reach out to find a way to, you know, get with the students at FGCU because I know it would be a wonderful opportunity for them and for, you know, our organization as a whole. It's just trying to find that piece that we can work together on, that you don't need a level 2 background check.
I'm also, this is like, I'm like throwing darts at a wall. Don't know if any of this is going to hit, but especially because I have our United Way counterparts here. I wonder if this is something that we could collaborate on, but like, I wonder if there are grants that we could be applying for that could potentially pay for students to be able to get those background checks. Because I know that the issue with, I mean, I know that we've been also trying to work in terms of like tutoring with different clubs. And like, I mean, some of these background checks are $65 and that's a hard one to ask a student to do, especially right now with the financial crises that we are seeing. So I'll put that on my radar and I'll put that out there. If anyone sees anything, let me know. Let's collaborate and see if we can find some grant money to help pay for all of us to be able to do this sort of thing. Should be.
Yeah.
Is there a way you could maybe have a memorandum of understanding to avoid the background check portion if the volunteers or the students are only doing a certain number of hours? I know for us with the museums, we do have an understanding we don't have to have them background checked due to that. So that might be an option to look into.
Great, thanks for sharing that idea, Karen.
I also wanted to say something. I know with the Boys and Girls Club, we also do the level 2 background screening, and it is costly for many students to pay for that, as well as it takes a while depending on where you live and the process between that, going here and going there. What we do is our done in the day forms. So these, the done in the days kind of go around the background screening, so they can go up to 10 hours with the done in the day, but you're only allowed to do a done in the day once every 90 days. So it could be a downside of doing a done in the day or just, you know, getting your background screen done. But It depends on the project. So what we have to kind of go around also the background screening process is if it's a group of 10 kids with FGCU, I know I've done it specifically. If it's a group of 10, we would just say, hey, can 2 of you come on Monday, 2 of you come on Wednesday, 2 of you come on Friday? And that way you guys could split up the hours and you don't all have to get background screened. We've also had a group, one of the girls got background screened, so she was here specifically volunteering while the other ones kind of put together the data, videos, and stuff like that that she could utilize to bring it here to the club. So we're kind of finding ways around that.
For the done in a day, is it something they're just signing, or is there actually some level of background check that's done quickly?
So the done in the day is it's a form that we created. I know my HR guy, Janie, he's not on the call with me right now. Wish he was. But the background screening form, it's an extensive process, the level 2. But the done in the day they've created to where they've made a standard of these students can come in one time throughout a 90-day period without having to be background screened. So it doesn't go against our grant funding and stuff like that. So.
Great. Thanks for sharing about that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We have something called a temporary volunteer form that they're put into that category. I think that also helps.
Excellent. Okay. Other challenges either that you're seeing or experiencing, or that you're fearful of experiencing this fall? And this can be actual interaction pieces or tracking hours and emails and verifying hours and all the logistics.
Hey, this is Jane. I'm with the Crew Land and Water Trust, and I'll just share some of the challenges for us is that we don't really have technological skill to ask students to make videos. And so that's been a little bit of a challenge to offer any virtual opportunities, but we are such a place-based organization. So the challenges previously have been that we do have a volunteer pool that is in the at-risk category when it comes to COVID. And so we've been trying to keep those two groups separated. But if we take on more than 8 students, we can only do groups of 10 right now. Then I end up having an older volunteer work with a younger student. And so those are some of the challenges that we're trying to work through. I mean, so been a little bit of a benefit that we're open, our trails are available. So we're getting so many students out here. We've got lots of hours that have been put in over the summer. But I think the fall is just that many more students are going to be looking for the opportunity to come out here. So I'm not sure how we manage through that process.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone have?
I also wanted.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Justin. I also wanted to include that one of the things that we're kind of working on right now, which is super hard and taskful, is finding out if volunteers need to be level 2 background screened while virtually volunteering, since they're not in clubs. So that's what we are trying to figure out right now. That's why our volunteers are kind of on a halt until we figure that out. I've written the protocols and procedures, but it just goes through a line of different people. So we've been struggling with that.
Yeah, that's actually a topic we've been chatting with a few other organizations as well. Is anyone on the call part of an organization that has made a decision for themselves around that topic of background checking for virtual volunteers?
So for us, if a student is planning on joining us in the Zoom meetings with our adult members diagnosed with autism, we do require that they get the background check because confidential information, privacy, things could be shared. However, if they just want to volunteer, we try to give them tasks that have nothing to do with like files or even the members. We might have them do social media stuff or planning for a fundraiser coming up or so many different things, creating flyers. So we've had, we try, if we're having a volunteer, to just keep it away from the members, and then we can avoid the background check that way.
Great. Thanks, Kelsey. Any other organizations dealing with that same issue that are on the call? I know there's a lot dealing with it, but okay.
All full background check, and we fund our volunteers background check, so we don't have them pay ever in general. So we just follow what's by the book. Typically our volunteers, if they are coming to help, they will have a virtual interaction with our members. And for fundraising and any other administrative tasks, we still run the background check anyway, because there's such a amount of information that's sensitive. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm Nancy with United Way, and I run a literacy program called Reading Pals, and there's 17 United Ways around the state who do this, and we're talking about the same thing. I'm pretty sure that we're going to be requiring some type of background check, but we haven't figured it all out yet.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing a lot of, is we haven't figured it out yet. I'm like, I don't know that many people have, but yeah, understandable. Okay. Any other challenges that you're experiencing or fearful of?
One of the challenges that I've had actually here at Collier County Museums is we haven't had the opportunity to have a lot of virtual because our lectures, our events, everything is kind of up in the air. So anything that we would normally have that would be able to be done virtually, we have not been able to do. But fortunately for us, we have been able to have a lot of the FGCU students here on our grounds and our museum, helping with greeting and that sort of thing. So it does worry me that we can't help all of the FGCU students, whether it be virtually if they're not comfortable coming here or not. So that I do have a worry, because I don't know if lectures will be coming in the next 6 months or a year. So
yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts, concerns?
Well, one of my main concerns is we can't even come. We usually do 2 or 3 huge trainings on your campus with our tax volunteers. And a lot of them are students. So I wasn't as worried as much as far as the FGCU students, because with the online learning, doing that would be natural for most of them now. But with our older volunteers, trying to train them in a virtual setting where you can't help them on the computer, or if they get lost, to show them. It's going to be interesting if, normally we have almost 200 volunteers. I think a lot of us are, where are we going to get that volunteer base from? And is that going to cut in half? How do we project? Because, people are still going to have their taxes done. We saw that this summer. But, how is that? How are we going to train folks virtually and be as effective as we were before?
Yeah, because you're saying your volunteer base used to be part students and local volunteers.
Right. So, we had snowbirds, a lot of seniors, a lot of the vulnerable population, like everyone else is saying, our volunteer base was from there, just for for that particular program.
Yeah.
So will you be able to train them, and will they be as engaged virtually?
Well, and, we can certainly talk offline, but we may want to approach some of the instructors in our College of Business and tell them the situation and see what we might be able to come up with that's a more formalized service learning opportunity for the students in that field of work, hoping to go into that field of work. Because it's fun to actually see the needs shift a little. So you've got Karen, who's like, well, I don't know that we're going to be able to engage the students. I don't know if we're going to have the events and things that we normally have. And then other organizations that know that you still need to provide the services, but you may not be able to have this, you won't necessarily be able to guarantee the same population of volunteers. So maybe we can shift our students a little bit, and hearing these needs are certainly certainly good to match some of the pieces up. But yeah, let's maybe explore that offline a little bit and see what we can come up with.
Okay.
Other thoughts? Great. Okay.
I have a question again. Can you
Yeah.
tell me how long does a university student have for volunteer? Is it for their whole semester or just for that semester when they sign up? So those coming in for the fall, they go from September to December. Is that how it usually works?
Yeah, so a student who comes, you mean when a student comes to you?
Yes, or yes, wants to volunteer for us. Is it for just that one semester?
It can be any length of time. It depends on why they are approaching you. So some students will approach you because they have a class where they're integrating service learning, maybe through a project that's required for the class. Other students may honestly just be interested in the work that you do. They might be passionate about it. Maybe it aligns with a future career path that they're hoping to have. And so for any of the reasons that they come to you, they may stay with you just for that project. They'll in those cases, they'll determine what that project's going to be, the length of time when you need that project done. You'll come to all those agreements together. Or, it might be a one-off experience. Maybe you're having an event, even if it's a virtual event. Maybe you're having an event where you need hands-on help and you need, so for example, I think one of the great things about the virtual setting is that students can do it at anywhere, anytime. And so if you're having a virtual event, a webinar, or a workshop or something, maybe you need some help just running that workshop. You need someone like Shallon's been doing for us here of monitoring the chat box and letting people into the room and those kinds of things. So, you may have students come to you for any number of reasons, and you'll be able to plug them in according to how you see fit.
All right, thank you.
Any other things for the good of the group? Okay. Well, as we go into the fall, if you have challenges that are arising, please reach out. Even if it is something like, a student emailed you and it's confusing and the student is part of a class and, it doesn't immediately look like it connects back to our office, just shoot us an email if you're having a struggle. We're usually working with their instructors anyway, so we can kind of close the loop and quickly get you answers. So whatever the issue is, whatever the concern or fear might be for the fall, reach out and we will we'll work through it together. All right, so I want to, for the pre-registration for the workshop, we actually had only had two faculty members register. That doesn't mean that they're not interested in working with you. What it means is that they are all very busy trying to transition their classes to virtual and to try to figure out what is going on in the world. And so many of them are just very, very busy. So don't let that tell you anything other than just that they're very busy. But I wanted to see if the two that did register for the workshop are still on here. Maria was on here on the list. Let me look at our list real quick. Maria, are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, great. Okay. So I wanted to give a chance for our partners to meet any of our faculty who might be on with us. Oh, and then Lauren Strunk. Is Lauren Strunk on the call with us? I haven't seen Lauren's name. So Maria, you are our sole representative of all the faculty at FGCU. Congratulations. What everyone doesn't know on the call is that Maria is brand new to FGCU, and she is diving in to learn as much as she possibly can, and she's going to be integrating service learning, and we're just really excited to have her. So Maria, I'd love for you to introduce yourself, just a little background, and anything that you want these partners, we've got 35 partners here on with us, Maria and I have chatted over email a little bit, but we do have a lot more partners in this, but these are some of our most dedicated and clearly our most invested partners. But anything that you want to share with them?
Yeah, no, well, first of all, thank you for having me here. It's been really great. As Justin mentioned, I'm new to FGCU. Most recently, I come from Rollins College. So I'm learning the language of FGCU when it comes to service learning. So this has been incredibly helpful. It has also been really helpful to hear what everybody is struggling with, but also the opportunities that are out there for our students. And I just want you guys to know that I'm teaching two humanities and social issues classes this semester. So I will have a lot of students who will work in groups and be looking for partners. Our class will be focused on the humanities and the other. So we'll be talking about a lot of social issues impacting our communities right now. So I am just, my ears are perked up for ideas and projects and community organizations that need a hand from our students. So I'm just gonna drop my email in the chat box if that's okay. And if there are ideas, I'm open to them. I'll also be sending students to the Service Learning Fair that Justin talked about earlier so that they can meet the community partners.
Thanks, Maria. And one of the things to point out here is that as a brand new faculty member and part of the teaching team at FGCU, Maria is kind of like fresh blood for you guys. So reach out to her, because a lot of our faculty members, they'll point students toward some of the areas that some of the organizations that they've worked with in the past, or they will, they've developed some long-term partnerships that their classes are able to engage in. But with Maria being brand new, this is your chance to build a brand new relationship with, as she mentioned, 2 classes and a lot of students. So if you have ideas, certainly reach out to her, and her email is there in the chat box. So thank you very much for being on with us the whole time, and I'm glad that it was helpful for you, Maria. Great. So yeah, thank you. Great, so it looks like we might end a little early. In our wrap up here, there is a survey linked in the agenda. Shalyn, if you can throw the survey link into the chat box as well, for anyone who doesn't have the agenda in front of them. But if you could just fill out the survey, and especially at the end, there's ideas for future workshops. We really want these workshops to happen once a semester, including summer semester, in a way that's most helpful for you. So if we're not covering topics that you really want to hear about, please let us know. If you want them longer, shorter, you want them however you want them, be sure to include that so that we know. And like anything else, you never know until you ask, and we want you to tell us. So that piece is there, the survey, and then any final reminders, Jesse, from you about the sign-up pieces for the fall?
I would just say, if you're having some hard time signing up or you want to, please absolutely let me know. Just send me an email. I'll get the information for you. I know, like Karen just sent me an email about potentially having more, and I just gave her the exact questions I need, so just let me know, and I'm here to help. We'd love to have you send in your videos for the Service Learning Fair, talk to some students, and hopefully I will see you all at our WOW and Make a Difference Day events. And we're always here to help. Remember, we got to stay connected, even though we're socially distancing.
And I know you get a lot of emails, and I apologize for being part of that email pile that's sitting there waiting for you. But the last email I sent outlined all the deadlines for anything to sign up for, including this workshop. But if you look back there, you'll see the links to sign up for the WOW Day of Service, the Service Learning Fair, the Make a Difference Day. I feel like there was something else in there, but certainly hold on to that email. And like I said in the beginning, hold on to this agenda, and you can download it from here and save it somewhere, because it has all those links in this agenda that you might need throughout the year. But if you lose it, that's okay. You know how to reach out to us. We are here for you. Thank you so much for being on this call. Thank you for being a great community partner and a great co-educator with us. And we just look forward to a really good, even though strange, but a really good fall together. So thank you all, and stay healthy. Take care. Bye.